United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
If any of you are confused as to why we are here tonight, look at these young men. That's why we're here tonight. Because the real challenge that we have in America is to pass on a great nation to our subsequent generation. I remember when I was a Boy Scout and I achieved the rank of Vice Scout, I remember how proud my father was. That's what we do in America. And it says in Proverbs 22:6, very simple. Train up a child in the way that they should grow, so that when they grow old, they shall not depart from it. As long as we have committed patriots, adults, parents, men and women, and train up this next generation in the way that they should go, the real testament for tonight is not that we're sitting here, but they will be sitting here. Thank you, Scott. Good job, Dad. Okay, I think I got about 25 minutes, and then we're going to open it up to the floor for questions and answers. I think the most important thing is to hear what is on each and every one of your minds. It's a pleasure and honor to be the chairman of the largest Republican state party in the United States of America. And truthfully, at a time as critical as it is right now, Texas has to be a leader. Texas has to step forward. The reason why we have that Lone Star is a guiding beam, a beacon for liberty, freedom, and individual sovereignty and individual first start off on this point. You got something coming up here starting April the 19th. Tomorrow is April Fool's Day. 18 days after that, the polls open up for our municipal level election. We have got to understand that, as Chip O'Neill once said, all politics are emotions. The municipal level elections are the most important. There's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of angst, there's a lot of anxiety out there. What we need to do is convince people, if you want to start fighting back against the incursion of the progressive socialist left, this Biden administration, it starts with our city council. It starts with our school board. Yesterday, I put out a little piece on critical race theory. We should not have critical race theory in any of our schools. But if we continue to lose control of our school board, they will be the ones that will dictate the narrative and dictate the type of curriculum and ideology we're going into the brains of those young men and people. County commission, county clerk office. You know, a lot of people want to talk about the election of November 2020. Guess who makes all the determination of electoral processes, procedures, voting machines? That's done at the county level. We're the ones that make the decisions about reviewing voter registration rolls. It's done at the county level. So we have got to get serious about this. Because sadly, when you look at our local level elections, municipal level elections, the turnout is good. You all know what I'm talking about. If you can get 6%, you get 8%. That's a great, touchdown speed. I guarantee you that in our municipal community, there are more than enough of us who need to show up for the regular elections and later vote to make a difference. Because before the filing deadline closed, you have gone over and looked at the Texas Democrat Party website and encouraged people to go out and run local level elections. Building city council, building school board, building county board, building county board. Each walking you is just not paying attention. So I want you to pay attention to action. The first action item is to pay attention and know who is running for city council, know who is running for school board, know who is running for county commission, know who is running for county clerk. Because if you don't, you're going to miss out on the opportunity to have control of the local government. So that's so important. That's the very first action item for tonight. Understand who are the elected officials in your local community. So many people went out and they could immediately say, President Trump, President Trump, President Trump. Who's going to say that? Who's going to say that? Who's your county commission? Who's your county clerk? I want you to have that level of granularity. You've got an opportunity to have success in these local level elections. Then you can start to focus on the next election coming up in November 2020. How many people here know of the 8 legislative priorities for the Republican Party? That would make a good scene for YouTube video. 8 legislative priorities. Those 8 legislative priorities were decided by the Republicans at the state convention last year. You ready to copy them down? Okay. Very first one, election integrity. Second one, monument protection. Third was religious liberty. Fourth one is constitutional fairness. Fifth one is ending the murder of our unborn citizens. The next one is to end the practice of child gender modification. The next one after that is school choice. And the last one of those 8 legislative priorities is to end taxpayer funded violence. Then there's an additional, some people call it the chairman's priority, but I've heard from so many people, it is ending executive order. That is the problem that we have seen from the White House all the way down to even our state. So what I want to briefly do is tie in why those legislative priorities are so important to where we are in the great state of Texas and in the United States of America. There is no doubt about election integrity being the #1 legislative priority for us, not just in the state of Texas, but all across the United States of America. And you want to know why it's an important said, you want to make sure you have honest and fair election. When you break down HR 1, let me tell you why the rep wants to have HR 1. It's about this. In 1994, in his first midterm election, Bill Clinton lost 54 congressional seats. Maybe some of y'all remember the contract with the Bill. In his very first midterm election in 2010, Barack Obama lost 63 congressional seats. I know that I was a part of that. So they know history. They know what's coming down the pipe. And as a matter of fact, they're the exact same thing. I mean, they had control of the House, they had control of the Senate, they had control of the White House. Here we are once again. They do not want to have lightning strike any time from the back. So what are they seeking to do? They're seeking. So what they have to do is try to bring control of elections under the federal government. Now understand this. Show me in the Constitution of the United States of America where the federal government has enumerated power to run elections. That's why you have the Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment says all of those powers not designated to the federal government are reserved to the states and to the people. That's why elections are done at the state level and down at the county level. But what they want to try to do is make you all believe that they can come in and take it over. HR 1 says there will be 10-day registration separation, online registration. There will be no review of voter registration rolls anywhere in the United States of America. There will be no picture ID anywhere in the United States of America. Hey, by the way, you put this place and think that all of a sudden we have a open rules policy, there's flooding with all of these tens of thousands of legal, and at the same time they don't want us to have picture ID. There's nothing new under the sun. Sorry to say, right? But the other thing is that they want to codify into law universal mail-in ballots. That completely undermines state election law. And there's a difference, folks, between mail-in ballots and absentee ballots. All of those who serve in the military know exactly what I'm talking about. Absentee ballots are controlled. You have to send in an application for an absentee ballot, and they come back to you, and then you submit it with some type of verification. Mail-in ballots means that they just go down and lock it. The voter registration roll. If they have said it shall not be reviewed, they just mail out ballots. Now, I'm not a real smart guy. I'm from Georgia. I went to the University of Tennessee. I used to jump out of airplanes back in the military. But I do know this. If you mail out 1.8 million ballots, you should not get 2.5 million ballots. Unless you're dealing in common core math. See, the real story about 2020 is that the state legislature, the Republican state legislature, did not stand up for their own election laws. In Georgia, in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Wisconsin, and in Arizona. Now, last time I checked Schoolhouse Rock, last time I checked Schoolhouse Rock, it told me the legislators ran are the ones that make law or amend law. Not the executive. Yet governors and secretaries of state change the election law only when it's in the will of the people. The judicial branch is supposed to interpret the law, not only change the election law. So if you want to spend the flow, spend the time, HR 1, which the government wants to do, you've got to have strong election integrity law. And these thoughts and votes will come. Harris County is the largest county in the state of Texas. The county clerk in Harris County this county wants to hand out 2.7 billion unsolicited ballots. You imagine 2.7 unsolicited ballots are down the house of Harris County Prosecutor. President Trump only wants that to have huge Chris Holmes also instituted this thing called curbside voting. He's put out 9 curbside voting locations on the Democrat team. No poll watching, no control mechanism. That's why we got that strong need you to come to, need you to call down through your state house member, your state senator. HB6, SB7. House Bill 6, Senate Bill 7. Those are the two omnibus election integrity bills that are down in Texas capital right now. Robert Francis O'Rourke showed up last year to speak out against election integrity. Robert Francis O'Rourke showed up to support something. You need to do it. Okay. Second, monument protection. I don't want to go too far down, but the pipe on this is we've got to protect our people. Those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. I've seen council culture before in Afghanistan. You saw council culture with ISIS. You don't want to have that happen. Religious liberty, number 3. How many people here ran HR 5? House of Religious Liberty Bill 5. Let's go around to that. HR 5 basically says that this whole thing about you can choose whatever gender that you are, you become a protected class. It's just the same as me. So now the Civil Rights legislation, the Civil Rights Act, extends to people that are gender dysphoric. That's what the American Psychiatric Association calls it. You can confuse them to look after the really good and the really good. They're trying to mainstream that. They're trying to mainstream that to the point where pastors speak out against same-sex marriage, and speak out against transgenderism, which is what they call it. You can win. Now, that's already happened here in the state of Texas. Remember the mayor, Annie Sparkler of Houston? Remember she wanted to institute the bathroom ordinance? There were pastors in Houston that spoke out against that bathroom ordinance. She subpoenaed them to the church. So we've got to change about the separation of church and state. The many of us have never read Thomas Jefferson's letter to the Granddaughter of Baptist Convention today. Thomas Jefferson talked about separation of church and state. He meant that not only see a whole state, also see a whole church. Where did we learn that lesson from? The Unity. That's why it's called just because it was persecuted. So we're not a member of the church of England, his designated church was persecuted and prosecuted. Well, you see it happening right now. The ideological agenda of the left is becoming their religion. There's a same-sex marriage, the murder of unborn babies. As a matter of fact, in California, a couple of weeks ago, they're trying to pass a law that you cannot be a police officer in California unless you believe in same-sex marriage and abortion. Some of the cities are destroyed by leftists here in the state of Texas. So HR 5, you got to read that and understand how important it is. Because it otherwise gets rid of your number one. What is your first right in the Bill of Rights in the Constitution? Freedom of religion and free exercise thereof. That's how important founding fathers understood. They made that your very first right in the Bill of Rights. Before the Constitution was carried, hey folks, if you have not read H.R. 8, how many people have read H.R. 8? That's the United States Constitution. My daughter was a master's student at SMU. She was doing a lot of biochemistry lab work late at night. I rolled her one of my non-religious Christians. H.R. 8 makes me covered. 2 years in prison. The only not legally owned firearm. You talk about what happened in Boulder, Colorado, and everyone's saying this is the reason why we need more gun control. Boulder, Colorado has some of the most stringent gun control laws in the country. As a matter of fact, the grocery store that that assailant went into, the grocery store is part of the Kroger chain, and Kroger says that no one can carry a firearm into any of their grocery stores. The laws are only meant for people that are law. And the purpose no law for law-abiding citizens. Let me ask you, hey, so everyone, right? Yeah. Show me a permit for the freedom of speech. So we all come together here. Who has the permit for freedom for assembly? That's something, No, don't you have a permit for freedom? How about the permit for the freedom of expression? Yeah, you got a permit for freedom of expression? How about a permit for your right to petition the government for redress of grievances? So if you don't have a permit for your First Amendment rights, why do you have to have a permit for your Second Amendment? Now, if you want to go through and get a concealed carry permit so that you have reciprocity, if you leave the state of Texas and go to another state, I get it, I understand that. But no single person, no legal law-abiding citizen in government of the United States of America, once you pass Form 4473, background check, you should not have to go to another state. Do you know that you can, in the state of Texas, openly carry a long rifle? But you cannot openly carry one of these unless you have permit. That's penalty. And that's what you're doing. I want you to also read H.R. 127 and H.R. 130, written by Sheila Jackson Lee. They completely undermine gun ownership in the United States. Hey, if you're a guy, if you like divorce, H.R. 127 says that in order for you to get a firearm, you have to get the permission of your ex-wife. And they start sending their flowers. And also, you know that they're having a hearing in the Supreme Court, I think, on a court case, says the federal government is not into your house, protecting your firearm, a law enforcement, out of the house. Complete violence of the system. That's where we are in the United States. That's why constitutional carry in the state of Texas so important. Let me close on this. Bernie Sanders has constitutional carry. The state of Vermont has constitutional carry. The state of Maine has constitutional carry. The state of New Hampshire has constitutional carry. The state of Utah has constitutional carry. The state of Texas has. 18 other states have had it. That's not the only story. I can talk all day and all night. You gotta stop murdering babies. Over 50,000. You want to talk about white supremacy and racism? Found the Planned Parenthood OpCon. Spoke to Planned Parenthood. Referred to black women, dollars and babies. 70% of Planned Parenthood parents are located in black states. The second largest abortion facility in the world is located in. All you gotta do is take a drive down I-45, go through the region, and the south side, just see how it's founded by white people. So next time someone comes up to you and says, Black Lives Matter, just kind of answer me Black Lives Matter. Because since 1972, Roe v. Wade, there was something more than black babies in the world. It really, really racist. Child gender modification. Do you know that even to the age of 6, people are talking about giving children puberty blockers, hormonal therapies, surgeries? This has to do with the freedom of children. That's not beautiful. The state of Alabama, they have passed a law that says 19 and below. You try to gender modification, 19 below, it's a crime. It's happening. Right here. I gotta tell you something. Maybe I'll do it. I would have never thought that I would see a Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition that had a biracial, gender dysphoric male in the swimsuit. But maybe it's okay to go. And I know that when I came home every day, if I'd ever come home and said, Irving, yeah, to my dad, I said, Dad, I don't want to be married. I want to be married. You're doing a bad day for me. One of the things that these lobbyists do, lobby against, school choice. School choice is the civil rights issue of this generation. Ron DeSantis has been the governor of Florida on Wednesday. And Ron DeSantis said that he will not allow underprivileged kids, black kids, to be relegated to a failed public school system. City of Jacksonville is not going to do that. And when he won that election, that's an important school choice. And the teachers will be the Democrats, they can't say anything about it, but the teachers will be destroyed. You always can, but you all need to make a decision about the best education opportunity for your child. I stand before you today because my mother and father, Herman Young Sr. and Elizabeth Thomas West, made the decision of school choice. Did not go to C.W. Hill and John Pope, who was the public schools in my community. I went to Iowa Junior Catholic School. Oldest black Catholic school in the city. That's how important. Lastly, executive overreach. Let me just remind you, no elected official has the enumerated power to decide who or what is essential anywhere in the United States of America. And yet that happens. So we got to write down these two bills. SJR 45 and SB 1025. Authored by Brian Burley, State Senator, State of Texas. Those who are going to have a hearing this week is Thursday. You need to start calling your state senator and ask them to sign on and to support SJR 45 and SB 1025. Even in the state of Texas. After 30 days of a declared emergency, you're supposed to call the state legislature back in for any further actions that you want to take. To this day, the state legislature never called back in. You will be self-mandated, after eating, after order, after institution. That's not how we operate in the United States of America. The Constitution is something. We operate by the rule of law. And remember what I said in the beginning. The executives believe that they can change law or make law. And we are. If we're ready to get the constitutional republic, we will become the constitutional monarchy. That's not what we do. The closing points of this. Texas has every right by the Constitution to secure the border that it shares with Mexico. Why do I say that? Write it down. Article 1, Section 10, Clause number 3 of the Constitution, along with Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. If you read and understand the language, the founding fathers referred to any time someone crosses the sovereign state border as an invasion. The exact language they use in Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 is a statement of action to secure itself and defend itself if it is actually an invasion, basically an invasion. And if it is imminent, danger, or threat. Texas is the #1 state in the United States of America for human sex trafficking. Dallas and Houston are the top 2 cities in the United States of America for human sex trafficking. That's an imminent danger. The drug trafficking, imminent danger. 3,000 illegal immigrant males in the K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center may now be released after our community. Drug trafficking. In a time of COVID-19, that's an imminent danger. Sexual predators are being released into our community. That's an imminent danger. We have to take that. And the Constitution says without a myth of delay. Joe Biden and his administration can advocate for constitutional responsibility to protect the sovereignty of the United States of America to include the sovereignty of state. We need to take that. They're not going to do it. They want a new victim class. They want a new permanent dependency class. They want new votes. That's why HR 1, blood of legal immigrants, is the dangerous threat to the future of this country. So please, memorize Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, Article 4, Section 4, and contact the state legislature. And ask them to sign up for a full deployment of our National Guard on that border, Stop allowing people to be released outside of that border zone. They can be processed, we can get biometric data just the same as we did in Afghanistan and Iraq. We can have a database. We can have communication. What we see happening is a we've got to put that medical system first. So whatever you do, how big is that? Hotel. I guarantee you can get the God bless you all. Those are my points. 8 legislative priorities, municipal elections, reporting to the president. Phil, stand up for everyone. And look, it's very simple. First and foremost, you have to say, first advice, you advocating those responsibilities for the state, sovereignty of the state. Yes or no? That's my question. If you stumbling around trying to figure out who's going to talk to him exactly, who's going to circle back to me, then I got the answer. So we have to pull the corner of our national guard. Because the most important thing you have to realize is there are infiltration lines. With drug cartels and pirates. I think we're up to about 134 different countries that people have been reported from across the board. Some of these individuals are from countries on the terrorist document. So first and foremost, I don't want them on any military installation. So I want to secure the border. I want to, use your Customs and Border Patrol. And there's a thing that we know in the military called OpCon. It's a command relationship. OpCon stands for operational control. So if you're not going to utilize the Customs and Border Patrol and ICE to do their constitutional duties and responsibilities, I'm going to bring them under the operational control of the state of Texas. And I'll put the head of the Texas DPS in charge of it. But we're going to secure the border, Mr. President. We're going to detain these individuals. We're going to process these individuals. We're going to do the manageability, and then we're going to repatriate them back. And we're going to tell them that you may want open borders, but Texas does not have an open border. You go to Arizona, you go to Mexico, you go to California, you help out Gavin Newsom, and then it's going to be Texas.
What's stopping
You need to call me that. I'm not going to tell you. It's very simple. And so, again, warriors take that. Warriors take it. I got time for it. And I see what's happening with the first question. Yes, ma'am. I don't see many of the question is the federal judges that were appointed during the Trump administration, what are they doing to block a lot of the unconstitutional actions that we see coming out of the Biden administration? I don't see a lot of it. Let me tell you folks, you can't rule over a country by executive order. You can't just come in there and like Pharaoh Ramses and the Ten Commandments, y'all remember, so let it be written, so let it be done. That's not how we operate here. So you can't come in and say that Keystone XL pipeline is going to stop. And you can't come and say there's no more building of the border wall. Those funds have already been appropriated. Now, if you want to change that, because that's law, then you have to present, new law, and amend that law, what have you. But you just can't do it by the stroke of the pen. So I think it's so important that we understand and we learn civics. And really and truthfully, what Carmen just asked the question about is really the crux of the issue. The delusional tenacity of the left has to be challenged. Their constant pressure cannot be met with confidence and truth. So it really comes down to one word. It's the courage to stand up when you know that you have everything that is right on your side and not allow them to steamroll you. It's just the same with a bully. A bully will continue to take your lunch money as long as you allow them to take your lunch money. The day that you find the courage to punch the bully in the nose, the bully may say, I'm going to go find someone else to take their lunch money. And so we've got to stand up. And right now, the important place where we stand up is in our states. And I will tell you that you're starting to see some state attorney generals coming together. They're going to challenge the executive order on the Keystone XL pipeline. The whole thing about the border wall. He doesn't really have the right to do what he did as far as by executive action. So we have got to find those judges. We've got to find those legislators that will stand up and do what is right and push back against it. Or else it's just going to continue to get. Yes, sir.
Mr. West.
Mr. West, my dad, I'm out.
You hit it nail. When Trump did something, the GOA came after him and said money has to flow again. Here we got the Keystone. Isn't that against what you just said about the GOA? Shouldn't they be going after him?
Yeah, the General Accountability Office, GAO. GAO. The senators have gone to them asking for a ruling, and truthfully, you can't do that. It's just cut and dry. So that's why you have 22 states that come together saying, you really can't stop the Keystone XL pipeline by executive order. Or you really can't tell us that you're just going to stop drilling on land. I mean, think about it. New Mexico went for Joe Biden by 10 percentage points. What's one of the first things he does? He tells them he can't drill for oil. Now, that's about 60% of the land in New Mexico. That's about 40-45% of the revenue. So he's basically going to starve them out all for this Green New Deal. Instead of going through a legislative process, he's just going to do it by executive order. The exact same thing with the border wall. That money has been appropriated by law. You can't just come in and say we want to stop it. So you just have to have the people with the courage to stand up and do something. Now, Representative Brian Slayton here in the state of Texas has introduced legislation that says that Texas will pick it up and Texas will complete this border wall. And so, again, states are sovereign. Remember, we are these United States of America. We have sovereignty of states. Remember the 10th Amendment, what it says. And the other thing I want you to understand, go back home tonight, action item. Read the supremacy clause. Because the other side will always tell you the federal government is supreme over the states. But they forget two very important words in the supremacy clause. Those two very important words are pursuant thereof. And what the federal government is doing is not pursuant thereof to the Constitution. And its principles, it's called constitutional nullification, which North Dakota passed saying that we ain't doing it. We're not following your executive orders. We're not following any laws that you send down which are not pursuant to the Constitution. That's the power that the founding fathers gave to states. It only takes that little word with the start to the C. It's courage to do it. Yes, Vince. Well, it's not a constitutional convention, and that's one of the key things about civics. We have to get our language correct. What Vince is talking about is an Article 5 Convention of States. And that's completely different from the Constitutional Convention. Now, the founding fathers were so brilliant that they sat down and they asked themselves, how could those idiots screw it up? And they came with every single fail-safe method. So they knew that at some point in time, the federal government would get out of control. And so they gave the states this thing called Article 5. Where the states can come together and bring together delegates from their respective states, and they could actually propose amendments to the Constitution or even change the Constitution on a single issue, not run away and do whatever they want. But the problem is this, it's a very high mark. It takes 34 states to come together to agree to call a convention of states, select delegates, if they want to refer an amendment to the Constitution, it has to be voted on by the Congress, 34 states. It takes 38 states and their delegations to amend the Constitution themselves. That's a very high mark, because they didn't want to see California, New York, a couple of the blue states come together and do a whack job on it. Now, right now, we have 16 states that signed up for the Article 5 Convention of States. Now, a lot of people say, hey, Colin, I know that there's some people that say this is a very dangerous thing. I tend to believe that if a guy like Mark Levin says the Article 5 Convention of States is constitutional, it's a good thing, it's a fair method, it's okay. And that's why I travel in several different states to promote the Article 5 Convention of States. Yes, sir.
All right, so you're chairman of the state GOP, but we have a problem here in Dallas, right? We don't have many Republicans who are in countywide positions, and we're losing state reps right and left. So what do we do right here at home in order to help bring more conservative values to the state house?
Okay, very good. I think one of the most important things you see right now is that you got 9 Republican candidates, conservative candidates running for city council in Dallas. So it has to start locally, where you go out and you look for those individuals to be able to go and run for these offices. I think that, again, as I started out, we have not put an emphasis on city council. We've put an emphasis on school board, county commission, and county court. And I really think that you've got to have a good turnout. Now, another one of the things I've talked about with the board of this organization, a city can make the decision that they're going to move their municipal election into November. Maybe because you can have a higher turnout. And guess what? In the last election cycle, there were some city council races up in Austin. You won one of them. You came within 600 votes and won your second. Why? Because people got out there. The folks in Austin, they don't like the fact that the police have been defunded by $150 million. And they've seen an increase in violent crime by 64%. They don't like the homeless situation and that camping ordinance that was passed. But if we're not out there messaging that, if we're not out there promoting that, if we're not out there dominating that narrative, so what you have to do in your county level organizations and structure, you've got to have that messaging as well. I try to do the best I can every single Monday. I let people get the Monday message. I try to do the best I can to get a message out to each and every one of you. We're live streaming this thing tonight because I want people to start focusing on municipal elections. So go out and start recruiting. You know what we need to do? Young people. We need to get young people out there running for these local elections. Why? Because that's your farm team. You know how they do in baseball, right? Single A, double A, triple A, major league. The local level election, that's your single A. But so often we're not paying attention to our young people. We just have to go out there and block law, go give me some water. But we got great young kids that should be on school board. You better to understand what's going on in school. The young people just recently graduated. But that's what I want you to do. Start taking it upon yourselves in your local communities. Start training up, recruiting that next generation. Now, another thing you got to do, go where they think they're strong. In November 2020, you know what the big story was coming out of Texas? The Rio Grande Valley. Counties in the Rio Grande Valley, there hadn't been Republican in 100 years. Look, I just swore in the new Republican chairwoman of Zapata County. She's on fire. You know why that happened? Because we showed up. We showed up and started saying, hey, you know what? Hey, why are we conservative? You believe in Judeo-Christian faith heritage. I mean, you're strong in heritage. You believe in strong families. You believe in small business entrepreneurship. You want better education opportunities in your field. You believe in safety and security in your neighborhood. You don't want open borders. And you know what? The most Medal of Honor recipients in the history of the United States military, Hispanic community. They love this country. They're willing to fight for this country. But if, what do they say? If the tree falls in the wood and no one is there to hear, they can make a sound. If they don't have that connection with us, they're saying that you guys are conservative. They never think of it. So just the same in the black community. Folks in Dallas got to get on that side of the river. There are people down there that on Sunday, Resurrection Day, they're the most conservative people in the United States of America. How many black pastors do you think know about HR 5? Okay. So who's going to tell them? You all need to tell them. Church-to-church partnership. All these nice white churches, y'all need to have a partnership with a nice black church or a nice Hispanic church. You need to go down to their community and have church service. You need to have them come up to your community and have church service. And after church service, what do Christian folks do? They have potlucks. And they eat. All right? And in between bites, guess what they do? You break down the barrier. That's what you have to do. Because there's no reason why the Democrats would own our major population. I mean, folks here say the documentary on the top. That tells the story. There's so many people on the south side of Trinity River. You don't know that. Are y'all going to tell me? Who founded the Republican Party of Texas on July 4th, 1867? Huh? In Texas. In Texas. 150 black men. 150 black men formed our Republican Party of Texas. You think people on the south side of Trinity River know that? That's game changer. And I'm not the first black chairman of the Republican Party of Texas. First black chairman of the Republican Party of Texas was a black businessman in Galveston, Texas, named Norris Blackburn. You know who helped found Prairie View A&M and Texas A&M? A former slave, a black state senator named Matthew Dixon. You're not telling people that. You're just treated as falling in the woods. Nobody knows. Yes, Dominic.
So one of the biggest concerns I had during this election was Biden said he didn't say, but he implied that he was going to pack the Supreme Court. So I was concerned and I emailed Senator Cornyn about it, and I got an email response about balancing the federal budget. So I care about balancing the federal budget, but that's not what I emailed him about. And I was wondering, why aren't we going on the attack with that? If they pack the Supreme Court, that's game, set, match.
Yeah.
We lose.
Yeah.
So why aren't we going on the attack? We're relying on Senators Manchin and Semena.
You have to have courage to go on the attack. It's real easy to sit back on defense. But if you want to win a battle, you still got to counterattack. And so, be very careful. Who are they, comparing Joe Biden's presidency to right now? Who? FDR. Who's the last person that attempted to pack the Supreme Court? That's it. So let's share that. That's history. George St. John said in 1928, those who fail to learn from history are. So that's what we got to do. We got it going on. We take space. Anybody else? Something more? That's it. I want to go home. Go to Raising Cane's with the chicken. I love Raising Cane's.
This is going to be kind of off topic. I'm not much of a social media person, but can you tell me what the heck's going on with this Gab thing?
Well, there's some people that I think for whatever reason they thought that they wanted to try to undermine me, and we didn't have a Gab account, and Gab was founded by a Christian conservative in response to what was happening with Facebook and Twitter and of course Parler and other things. Now, what Gab does is says that there's free speech. And so you, as an individual with a Gab account, you can, hide comments. But overall, someone else with a Gab account, if they don't hide it, they will see it. There were some folks in the Republican Party of Texas, the State Republican Executive Committee, they were saying that Gab is an anti-Semitic platform. It's not. It's a free speech platform. And, when you look at some of the other platforms, look, I get called House N-word. I get called Light Man Court Monkey, Uncle Tom, Sellout Oreo. But if you allow the other side to browbeat you into self-censor, you'll win. And And so the state Republican Executive Committee last week in Laredo decided that 35 to 25 of the vote, 2 people abstained, that they did not want the party to have a gavel count. You still have Facebook count. You still have Twitter count. Matter of fact, Facebook just came out and said that President Trump's voice may even be on Facebook. They'll shut everybody down. So, I mean, it's kind of hypocritical that we're going after a constitutional conservative Christian platform that believes in what? The First Amendment. And I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution. And the First Amendment was there. Free speech. So, I have my own personal gavel count. And I think already I'm up to about 3,500 followers in the And you know what I posted about? I posted then about critical race theory. And so if we continue to censor ourselves and we don't get our message out, it becomes the exact same thing. We're the tree out there that is falling in the woods and nobody hears it. So you'd have to talk to the people, the 35 that voted for the electoral count to really understand what their thinking is. But it doesn't make sense. It's not logical. And again, we're acquiescing to the other side at a time when you need to be standing up. Last question. Yes, ma'am.
So, what is the Republican Party of Texas doing to get their message out to?
Well, I'm here.
Well, thank you. I'm very happy that you're here. But on a local level, more like
You got to talk to your county too. Okay. I mean, Texas has 254 counties.
right.
I don't think my wife would agree with cloning me 254 times. But you all have to take the reins on this. Let me put it in a military metaphorical sense. When the Rams went down on June the 6th of 1944, Dwight David Eisenhower didn't get off of any of those landing craft. The people that hit the landing craft were the troops on the ground. So you can sit back and you can look and say, well, what is so-and-so back in headquarters going to do? People went to fight on the ground there. We have a saying in the military that you always move to the sound of the guns, which means that you go where the trouble is. You go where the fighting is. And that's what you have to do. You got to have that simple little word. You have to have the courage to do it. And what did God tell Joshua 3 times in chapter 1, verses 5 through 9? Be strong and good courage. Oh, 3 times. That's what I'm telling you all here. Every single one of you, you have a sphere of influence. And so my challenge to you tonight, call to action. You find 5 people. 5 people that don't think and believe as you do. You get 3 of them. 3 out of 5 is 60%. 60% in any political race is considered a landslide. So a landslide starts with you in your little sphere of influence. When you see that U-Haul van that shows up in your neighborhood, and those new people coming in, you need to go up to them and talk to them. You need to go up to them and meet them. You need to say, hi, my name is John Williams. How you doing? Welcome to my neighborhood. Now, why are you here? I'm not being obtuse. I'm not being belligerent. But the bottom line is this. You need to get people to understand what is so unique, what is so great about the state of Texas. This is the only state in the United States of America that fought for and won its independence by itself. Last week, Saturday, 27th of March, 185 years ago, Colonel James Fannin and 400 of his men were massacred at a place called La Bahia, in south of Goleta. How many people do you think in the city of Coppell or Irving knew what that was last week Saturday? I put it out on social media. And if you follow me, all you have to do is find it and share it. But if you're not telling people about what happened at the island, if you're not telling people about what happened at Goleta, if you're not telling people about what happened in Washington on the Brazos, how many people really know what I'm saying when I say Washington on the Brazos? What did we talk about earlier? They don't even teach history in the 8th grade anymore. Texas State, yes, sir. As a matter of fact, 4 years ago, the Texas State Board of Education had to have an emergency meeting because they wanted to remove the reference word heroic from describing the definitive alignment. That's in Texas. That's in your state. So each and every one of you, you've got to look at yourself and say, what was that movie, Network, Albert Finney? He told everyone to go to the window and shout out. Mad as hell, we're not going to take it anymore. When do you have that line in the sand moment? Oh, God, when will you decide which side of the line that you're going to stand? Because until that moment, you don't know how precious it is to be in this incredible state, in this incredible time. Leave out of here tonight. Man, this is my mojo closing. I got my mojo closing.
One really, really,
Ever since Adam ate that apple.
I'd like to recommend a book that was written by someone we all know. It's called Hold Texas, Hold the Nation. And this is a perfect gift for anyone moving into your neighborhood, especially from out of state. And I can recommend it. I've read it and I've given it away as a gift. And it does the trick.
It really does that.
By Colonel Alan West.
Can I have my mojo moment? Leave out of here tonight, understanding what is said in the book of Esther. That you are here. That you were made for a time such as this. There is no coincidence that you are here at this time, this moment in the history of the United States of America, in the history of Texas. But the question will be, what will the history books write about you? Will it write about the fact that you made a stand? Or will it write about the fact that you capitulated? And what I started out saying, the measure of who we are is not whether or not, is not about how much we accumulate, how much we have. It's whether or not those young Boy Scouts will be here needed 50 years. That's your commitment. That's your final call. God bless you all.